Over the past few weeks, I've been testing the Ultrahuman Ring Air, a smart ring that can track the most important health metrics such as sleep, heart rate, movement, and heart rate variability. I don't know about you, but my Instagram and YouTube feeds are now filled with so-called biohackers like especially Brian Johnson, who try to optimize their lifestyle from a health perspective, and wearables are playing an increasingly important role in this as well by tracking key health data. Personally, I mostly test sports watches, but devices without a display are also becoming increasingly popular. One very popular example of this would be the Whoop Band, but personally I'm not a big fan of that because of the high monthly subscription costs. And then there are fitness rings, the Aura Ring, the Rincon Ring, and even Samsung has now entered this market with the Galaxy Ring. Another very popular option is the Ultrahuman Ring Air, which I recently tested. In this video we will discuss what sets this device apart from other fitness rings, what its pros and cons are, and who this ring is best suited for. The ring was provided to me by the manufacturer for testing purposes, but as always I'm completely free in how I design my review, so I can and will express my honest opinion, including the disadvantages. So let's get started and have fun. Let's begin with the most important point up front. This ring comes with no subscription costs. It costs a one-time fee of currently $349 or 379 euros, which isn't very affordable, but there are no subscription costs after that. That was already a major plus for me personally. But then let's start with the obvious, the design. The ring is made of titanium, which makes it extremely high quality and durable. At the same time it's very lightweight. Depending on the size it weighs only between 2.4 and 3.6 grams. It's also 8.1 millimeters wide and depending on the size 2.45 to 2.8 millimeters thick. Speaking of size, to help you choose the right one you will receive a sizing kit in advance. This includes all ring sizes from 5 to 14, so you can try them all on different fingers and decide which one fits best. It works on all of your fingers, by the way. And here you can also see the different color options. There is raw titanium, Ester black, matte gray, space silver and bionic gold. And on the website I also found a new option called brushed rose gold. I personally ended up choosing the ring in size 11 and the Ester black color. As you can imagine, this makes the whole delivery process take a bit longer, so be a bit more patient, but this ensures that you get the perfect fit. In my opinion, the ring is also very well made. It's rounded with no sharp edges or anything like that and feels comfortable on the finger. I have to say, since I normally don't wear any rings, I had to get used to it at first. In the first few days it did bother me a bit. But by now it actually feels more strange when I take it off, so you really get used to it pretty quickly. At this point it honestly doesn't bother me in my daily life at all, not even when I sleep. The only exception is in the gym when I grip a dumbbell or barbell, because in this case it still feels a bit unusual, but that's more because I worry that the ring might get scratched. So I can say I've been wearing this ring for about 3 weeks now. I've been to the gym like 10 to 15 times in this time period. And I definitely don't treat the ring delicately, so I'm testing it very intensively and it still looks like new, but I would say after 3 weeks this is something you should be able to expect, so time will tell how the ring will look in like 1 year. Washing your hands, showering or even swimming is no problem at all. And you can even go diving with it since the ring is waterproof up to 100 meters. Inside the ring there is a 24 mAh battery which you can't remove or replace. Ultrahuman promises a battery life of 4 to 6 days and I can confirm that I had to charge the ring approximately every 5 days. Via the app you can also set different battery modes. By default the turbo mode is activated where all sensors and measurements are active, but there is also a chill mode with only the essential measurements for sleep tracking and an even more efficient critical battery mode. In these modes fewer sensors are active, which helps extend the battery life. To charge the ring from 0 to 100% you need to charge it for about 180 minutes, that is 3 hours, which compared to smartphones or sports watches is somewhat long. To charge it you have to use the included charging dock, and a suitable USB-C charging cable for the dock is also included in the package. On the inside of the ring you can already see various sensors, and let's now take a look at what they are intended for. The Ultrahuman Ring Air essentially contains 6 different sensors: green, red and infrared LEDs, a 6-axis motion sensor, a skin temperature sensor and an infrared PPG sensor. By combining data from all these sensors, the ring can perform a wide range of health measurements. It can track heart rate variability, blood oxygen saturation, body temperature, sleep and activity, and derive further data from these measurements. For this, let's take a closer look at the app, because the ring itself doesn't have a display, so it can't show any data, so all the data evaluations are done via the Ultrahuman app, which is free and available for iOS from iOS 15 and Android devices from Android 6. The app is very user-friendly and I also like the design. It has a bit of a futuristic feel. Ultrahuman also regularly releases updates that keep improving the experience. At the top right we see the connected ring. You can click on it to view detailed information about the ring, whether it's connected, its size, model and of course the battery level. There is also a Find My Ring function, which I personally have already used, as it's pretty easy to misplace such a small ring. Going back to the homepage, we see movement data at the top. The bars here show when during the day you were active, as well as your step count and calories burned. The large number you see is called the movement index, which is a value between 0 and 100, representing how consistently you've moved throughout the day. At the start of the day, this score is always reset to 100 and it gradually decreases if you are inactive. It's really about how consistently you've been moving throughout the day. So you can't just sit on the couch the whole day and then run a 2-kilometer run. In the evening, the movement index will then still be low, but on the other hand, going for a short walk every 1 or 2 hours will result in a higher movement index. You can also find more information by clicking the icon in the top right corner of each section. You can also view your results for the past week and see all your daily activity stats, so steps taken, calories burned and active hours. There are goals set for all of these metrics and you can adjust them at any time by going back. Clicking on your goals allows you to review and adjust them. You can also add new goals or remove existing ones. Next, in the main menu, we find a widget for what's called the stress rhythm. It also has a score from 0 to 100, where a higher score means you are managing your stress well. I could probably make an entire video about this widget alone, but put simply, it's about understanding your body's daily rhythm so you can align activities like workouts with your body's natural performance peaks. High intensity workouts right before bedtime are not ideal, for example, because they hinder that the body can calm down properly, so the resting heart rate will be higher, which in turn also affects the sleep quality. You can see when you were more or less stressed throughout the day, giving you insight into your circadian rhythm. There is also a separate section for this rhythm that displays a clock with different phases. Just before bedtime, for example, your body is more sensitive to stimuli like light or exercise. Caffeine also plays an important role and shouldn't be consumed right before bed. The app shows your ideal time windows for caffeine intake, including suggested drinks and quantities. In the evening, you'll see alternatives like warm milk, some kinds of tea, or tart cherry juice to help you sleep better. If you track and understand this rhythm over time, you can optimize your sleep rhythm and therefore also have more energy throughout the day. There is also a separate widget for sleep, of course. It shows a sleep score from 0 to 100, which is self-explanatory, I think. 100 just means a perfect restful sleep. You also get a detailed sleep analysis, including total sleep duration, distribution across sleep stages, so REM sleep, light sleep and deep sleep, heart rate including resting heart rate, HRV, movements during sleep, skin temperature and much more. The key metrics I focus on are resting heart rate and HRV. Ideally, the resting heart rate should be as low as possible, so the normal range here is somewhere between 50 and 70 beats per minute, but this ultimately depends on many different factors like your age, gender, fitness level and recovery. HRV or heart rate variability, on the other hand, should be as high as possible, because the more variable your heartbeat, the better your body is recovering and adapting to certain stimuli. So the normal range here is somewhere between 30 and 70 milliseconds, but this also depends on many different factors. A higher HRV reflects very good fitness, but it's also important that the value is pretty stable, staying within a certain range. So Garmin, for instance, expresses this with the HRV status. And speaking of Garmin, during my testing of the Ultrahuman Ring Air, I also wore other wearables like the Garmin Venue X1, Garmin Forerunner 970 and the Amazfit Helio strap. Resting heart rate and HRV were very consistent across all devices. According to both Garmin and Ultrahuman, my resting heart rate is around 37 beats per minute, depending on the night between 35 and 40. And my HRV, so heart rate variability, ranges between 90 and 100 milliseconds. The general sleep analysis was mostly consistent too, especially regarding sleep duration and awake times. There were some discrepancies in sleep stage breakdowns though, but in my experience no smartwatch, fitness watch or smart ring is completely accurate in that regard. Personally, I don't really trust the exact durations of deep or REM sleep, not even with the Ultrahuman Ring Air. What's really interesting is observing how the resting heart rate and HRV respond to certain influences. For example, I noticed that my resting heart rate goes up and my HRV goes down if I have a very big meal right before sleep or if I do a very intense exercise. And alcohol is having an even bigger impact on this, so if I'm going out on a party and having a couple of drinks, I really see that the resting heart rate is way higher than it would normally be, and the HRV value is way lower than it would normally be. It's definitely very fascinating to spot these trends, as it helps to optimize your health. You can also click on each data point for more details. You could honestly spend hours playing around with this, and the data nerd in me really loves it. The app also offers tips on how to lower your heart rate optimally, and further down there is also a breathwork section which includes guided breathing exercises to help reduce stress or unwind. In the dynamic recovery section you see factors contributing to your recovery, so resting heart rate, HRV, sleep score, stress score as well as skin temperature. You'll also see whether each metric is in the normal, optimal or out of range zone. At the very bottom you can also see an assessment of your cardio age, which reflects cardiovascular fitness and all the factors that influence it. This includes, for example, the VO2 max value, which I often emphasize in my videos. VO2 max is your maximum oxygen capacity, or in other words, how much oxygen your body can absorb during maximum exertion. It is one of the most important markers for cardiovascular fitness and endurance performance, and therefore also a general indicator of overall health. A high VO2 max means that your heart, lungs and muscles are working efficiently together, both during exercise and in everyday life. There is also training mode available, where you can select a sport within the app and start a workout. However, it only shows your heart rate and not metrics like speed, distance and so on, as you would find with a sports watch. So for ambitious athletes, this is definitely not a full training analysis tool like Garmin. The focus is much more on stress, recovery, sleep and everyday health rather than specific training sessions. Another positive aspect is that you can extend the app with the so-called power plugs at the bottom. These are additional widgets you can add. For example, vitamin D, where the app calculates optimal times to be outdoors in the sun based on various factors. There is also a widget for women to track their menstrual cycle and a power plug for screen time that shows the impact of smartphone use on your rhythm. So there are many possible extensions, and as I said, Ultrahuman is very active in releasing regular updates and improvements to the app. You could also pair the ring with the Ultrahuman M1, for example, which is a glucose tracker that you can wear on your arm. This lets you collect additional exciting data about your metabolism and observe how certain foods affect your health. The app even has a dedicated section for that. Alright, so what's the bottom line with the Ultrahuman Ring Air? This is probably the most detailed fitness ring I have ever tested. The app offers an incredible amount of data and statistics in the areas of movement, sleep and recovery, and I find that these elements are very well integrated, so especially the stress levels, circadian rhythm and caffeine windows, as well as the sleep data including all relevant parameters like resting heart rate or heart rate variability. As kind of a data nerd, I really enjoy diving into all of the rings and apps data and to observe trends over time to optimize my lifestyle and health. I definitely see the ring as a very useful tool. However, I only use it as a supplement to my sports watch because it's not particularly well suited for training and performance analysis. So it doesn't replace my sports watch, it complements it. For people primarily interested in health and recovery, better sleep and more energy during the day, the ring is a fantastic option. And also for those who simply prefer wearing a ring over a smartwatch or fitness tracker, because it's much less intrusive in daily life compared to a constantly glowing and blinking watch. What I also really appreciate is that there were no subscription costs included, and there was not a new model being released every 2 or 3 months like for other manufacturers. because the Ultrahuman Ring Air actually came out in 2023, so it's already 2 years old, but the manufacturer delivers constant updates, so you can really benefit from it for a long time. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the Ultrahuman Ring Air. If you found this video helpful or interesting, you could really support me by giving this video a quick thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any future reviews, you should definitely subscribe to this channel. But for now, thanks a lot for watching and see you in the next one.